What the Republican performances in New Jersey and Virginia mean for 2014. And Democrats, it's not quite the good news that you think it might be. Talking about that next on Get Right with Lenny McAllister. That's me, starting right
now. Get Right with Lenny McAllister.
Good morning, my neighbors! Hey, you! Yes! Yes! You too!
The way we help bring back America and we build the bridges and bring people together is by making sure we hold everybody accountable in a 360 fashion.
So let me close with this. Yes, there is a change that we can believe in, but it will never come from a politician or a government program.
We cannot find physical sanity here in the land of Lincoln, from Carbondale to Elgin, if we collectively continue to tolerate the insanity found on the streets of South Chicago and East Texas.
We got to move away from the American Idol soundbite nature of politics and back to the American statesman of humble servant leadership that we used to see in politics.
It is time to roll out the era of the new, educated, engaged, and energized American citizen.
I go do the jail ministry. I speak to the kids in the streets. So I'm never going to lay down being conservative just as much as I'll never lay down being a proud African American.
I feel like a black republic. Money I got coming in. Can't turn my back on the hood. I got love for them.
Welcome to the post-election edition of Get Right with Lenny McAllister. You know the drill. You know it's me. The drill, very simple. Twitter, LENNYMCALLISTER is where you can find me. On Facebook, it's tinyurl.com/LENNYPAGE. And of course, it's quite natural that I'm talking about the PA in PAGE because I'm coming to you live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Or if you're listening to a rebroadcast, it is Wednesday, Hump Day, post-election day. The opportunity for victors to feel victorious and for those that were not victorious to reflect upon what they could have done differently if the stars just didn't align for them or any of those types of things. Or if you're a Democrat, you get an opportunity to look at the two races that everybody primarily are talking about nationally, New Jersey, Virginia. And if you're a Democrat, you have to ask yourself this question. Terry McAuliffe won in Virginia, so does that mean we're on the rise and we're really poised to make some major wins and some major moves after this upcoming election in 2014 that will be in position to perhaps control the House of Representatives and the Senate and still have President Obama in the White House for the final 2 years? Or do we look at Chris Christie's strong showing in a blue state where he wins 2-1 and basically the Democratic Party says, you got that. You got that, dude. Peace. See you later. We'll see you in 2016, Governor Christie. I don't know if it's either. I'm just going to put that out there right now. And of course, I love your feedback on Twitter or on Facebook. My thing is this. I mean, some would say this, the Democrats are on the rebound, and some would say that this shows that Christie's going to be a presidential nominee. I think that the second part is true. But if I were a Democrat, I would be very worried about how Ken Cuccinelli, or as some of his supporters like to call him, the Cooch, which I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say it that one time because it's not the Gooch like off of Different Strokes, what you're talking about, Willis. And it's not the Hooch because I don't drink. And I don't see any, bootleggers around here, even though there are a whole lot of Appalachian Mountain Hills around here. But the Cooch just sounds, and I said it again, it's twice, and that's 2 times too many. It's just too vulgar to say. And if that's your nickname, and you're a social conservative that stands against alternative lifestyles from your post as Virginia Attorney General, I just don't think that's an appropriate nickname. Or it's an extremely ironic nickname that make liberals and progressives jab at you with it. I don't know. That's just me. But either way, I'm not saying it anymore. I said it 2 times too many already. So Mr. Cuccinelli, the sitting and then soon to be former Attorney General of the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, if you will, that ran for governor of Virginia as a Republican. This race was not supposed to be a very close race. At one point in time, there was a significant spread in the race where Cuccinelli was supposed to lose to the governor-elect, Terry McAuliffe, probably by at least 5 points, maybe more than that. Actually, the spread was widening. And if you look at what transpired election night, where the Republican was in a tight race for the Attorney General post, where Cuccinelli ends up losing by, 2 percentage points, somewhere in that range, where it was a lot closer than it was supposed to be. And this was a guy that was painted as an extremist. The lieutenant governor that was running with him, E.W. Jackson, made him look even more extremist. He did not help the ticket at all, even though he's African American, even though he's Republican, even though he has not really a huge following, but people know who he is nationally. He has the conservative right that you would think would be on his side. You would think that he would have the black church on his side, or at least paying attention to him. You got all these things in place that actually worked against Cuccinelli, or were supposed to. E.W. Jackson, seen as an extremist, hardcore, Christian conservative, unyielding, unsuccessful U.S. Senate race previously. He was the surprise lieutenant governor nominee. And you already had Cuccinelli that had supposedly, allegedly, extreme positions of his own to defend. So this was just making it worse. Now, all that in place, the Clintons coming into the Commonwealth of Virginia to campaign with their good friend McAuliffe, the government shutdown, where the Republicans were blamed for that more than President Obama was blamed for that, the debt ceiling crisis, which the Republicans were blamed for that more than President Obama and the Democrats were blamed for that, Ted Cruz being a Republican, the Tea Party being on the side of the Republicans by and large, even though you can make the argument quite naturally, and we have over years, that the Republicans and the Tea Party fight each other, establishment Republicans, I should say, versus Tea Party activists / Tea Party Republican candidates. And they have, and that's valid. All these things were in place to make this a huge victory for Terry McAuliffe, and he still barely won the election. So to me, if I'm a Democrat, free advice for my friends on the left side of the aisle, the left-hand side, people that lean towards the left coast, left-leaners, if you will, southpaws, politically. That's a dangerous sign for you all. That means that people, although they don't like the optics, they don't like the record, they don't like the social conservatism, and they have a hard time embracing somebody like a Ken Cuccinelli, who's lieutenant governor, would be E.W. Jackson, which would mean, in essence, and this is what people kind of sort of don't get, that part of what people had to determine was that if Ken Cuccinelli wins the governor's race for the Commonwealth of Virginia, and then a Republican president comes into the White House in 2017 and Cuccinelli was appointed by that Republican president, the governor would have been E.W. Jackson. That, if you're a moderate, that, if you're a centrist, and that, obviously, if you're a Democrat or a progressive, should have been enough to make people absolutely, positively flip out. It just should have been. It should have been enough to keep it a 7-point spread for McAuliffe to win. Instead, it was a 2-point spread. Now, you look at the lieutenant governor's race, which was a separate race, and E.W. Jackson in the exit polls was down by 7 to 9 points, which is what you would expect. But at the top of the ticket, it's a 2-point spread. If you're a Democrat, that should worry you. If you're a Republican, that should make you take a second and say two things. One, you can be a strong conservative and win. You cannot be as forceful as we have been and win. Because one can make the argument that just a little bit more of being colored as a conservative by E.W. Jackson, by past comments by Jackson or Cuccinelli, was just enough to create the 2% difference. Agree, disagree, you know where to find me on Twitter. But you can make that argument. You can make the argument that the past records of those two men were just enough to make McAuliffe the winner, and in a squeaker that wasn't supposed to be. To me, Virginia is a victory for the Republican Party. Now, I know it's a Pyrrhic victory. It's a moral victory. It doesn't really count. It's kind of like saying, well, I got a double. Yeah, you lost 10-2. Except for the fact that in this instance, the Republican Party, they may have gone 0-3, but they lost 10-8. They lost 10-7. They lost 4-2. This was a close race. And in something that, in essence, if you want to continue the baseball analogy, is more like a 7-game series with the last couple of games going into 2014, you got to feel good about this. You still got your split, number one. You won New Jersey. You won New Jersey in a very convincing manner. I don't even want to talk about New Jersey because to me, if you look at Virginia and you look at what was supposed to transpire in that race, even if you get that, I know they're still trying to sort through the numbers as we speak, Wednesday morning, they're still trying to sort through the numbers with the AG race. And that may lean towards the Democrat in that race. So even if you go 0-3 as Republicans, should not have been as close as it was in the AG race. It was not supposed to be as close as it was in the gubernatorial race. There is something that Republicans can look at and say, listen, with what's going on with Obamacare, with what's going on with the economy, and yes, the unemployment numbers come out this Friday, they're not going to be good. The numbers are not going to go down. We're not going to get to 7-0 or 7-1. It may stay at 7-2. It might even go up. Now, if it goes up, I would like to see what the participation rate ends up looking like because these numbers are wicky-wacky. And as long as people don't believe there are jobs out there, that's where the problem is. And I know I'm going into the economy real quick. But part of what people don't understand about the unemployment numbers and all the numbers that come out from the Bureau, the Labor Department, what people don't, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's bls.gov. What people don't understand about those numbers is that when the participation rate goes down, those numbers are not just because people stop looking for jobs and then when jobs come back, people will jump into the workforce. Part of that also goes to you can no longer get unemployment because you've been unemployed for so long that you can't be counted as the unemployed that's on the numbers trying to look for jobs. So when you start talking about numbers at their lowest point since the 1970s, since people that are in elected office were in diapers, that's deep. As long as those things still exist under President Obama, under Harry Reid, who is controlling the U.S. Senate, which means that 2/3 of the government where laws are created and put into motion are, in essence, held by Democrats, where they hold the accountability. Now, I know the government actually, I understand. So you get my point what I'm saying. When I'm talking about the three, I'm talking about the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the White House. I know about the White House, executive and legislative and judiciary and the bureaucracy because that is a part of the government, whether you like it or not, and that's part of what conservatives rail against. Anywho, coming back out of the rabbit hole for just a second, as long as you can pin things to Harry Reid, as long as you can pin things to President Obama, as long as you have failures out there where they're not taking advantage of the bad Republican name as much as they should, there's a chance to improve upon the name. There is a chance to win elections that we shouldn't win as Republicans, as conservatives. That's clearly out there. Whether we want to acknowledge that or not, whether we grasp that or not, is a different story. President Obama winning in 2012 said something. The Democrats not taking over the House of Representatives like they possibly could have with the Aiken-isms, Murdochisms, Sununu-isms that were out there still says something about the legitimacy of particularly economic in nature policies. People are sick of being unemployed. People are sick of struggling. They may not buy into the social conservatism, but if they think that the Republican, and maybe this is, I would love to see the exit polls on this, if they think that the Republicans going to do a better job at getting them back to work or bringing more economic stability for their family. Maybe Cuccinelli polled higher than McAuliffe in this regard. If that is the case across the whole Commonwealth, not just in Northern Virginia, if that is the case, then Republicans have a window in which they can still win, which then goes to this. Without huge numbers from minorities and young people voting in 2014, do you see a repeat of the Tea Party wave, except this time maybe it's more of a true Republican wave like 94 versus a Tea Party wave like 2010? Do you see more of that coming up next year? We'd love your feedback on that. Twitter, Facebook, you know where to find me, LennyMcAllister. Facebook, you know the deal, tinyurl.com/Lenny Page. Because I submit to you that the Democrats should be looking at the Virginia race and not pleased with it. I mean, Terry McAuliffe was not the greatest candidate, but he is close personal friends with both Clintons. Both of them came. One's a icon and legend, and the other one is a rock star. And that's, whether you love them or hate them, that's the truth. That's just how that rolls. That is how that is. You have all that on your side. You have Ken Cuccinelli, who has said things. I mean, the nation is starting to turn at a state level in regards to gay marriage. There's already been an acceptance of the homosexual lifestyle, as they would put it. The alternative lifestyle, as others would put it. And you have him in an official capacity taking a very hardcore right social conservative position on it. Then he gets somebody that's further right than he is as a lieutenant governor nominee. He didn't ask for it, but he got it. Those things fall into place. There are negative stories and feelings around E.W. Jackson's race. There are negative stories and feelings around Cuccinelli's race in regards to how he can relate to all of the Commonwealth, how he's running his campaign, even who he's having come and speak for him. Having Rand Paul come in and speak for you gins up your base and reminds everybody that you are affiliated with the Tea Party, which is the group that was blamed for the government shutdown and the debt ceiling crisis of 2011, the budget crisis of 2012, the debt ceiling crisis of 2013, and the government shutdown of 2013. But you bring that individual in to rally the troops in the tail end of your campaign. And you still, with all those optics that should be playing against you, with all those things that from a moderate, centrist, independent voter, swing voter, undecided voter perspective should make 9 out of 10 at least run the other direction. McAuliffe wins by roughly 2 points as of the latest results that I saw. That should be encouraging to everybody. Now I have to say this before I go. That should be encouraging to all Republicans. The Democrats, it should make you pause. But I have to say this before I go. If you are a Tea Party conservative, you cannot see this as vindication as much as you would like, because it's still not a win. If anything, it should make you re-examine the totality of the Tea Party strategy. Not, don't be a Tea Party. But how effective in totality is it? Can you tweak certain things so that you can still be a Tea Party conservative, but in its totality you appeal to more people so that you can win a purple state? Bob McDonnell was not a Tea Party conservative per se. He was a conservative. He was a Republican. He rode the Tea Party wave. Marco Rubio, one would argue nowadays, rode the Tea Party wave but was not a Tea Party conservative. He was just the alternative to Charlie Crist, who is now a Democrat. You got to love how people flip-flop parties based on their... Anywho. Again, this is why people that are unaffiliated say the labels mean nothing. Because you see stuff like that. Now, you look at somebody like an Allen West, that was a Tea Party conservative. That was a Republican, but he is a Tea Party conservative. Herman Cain, Tea Party conservative. There are people, Rand Paul, obviously. Michelle Bachmann, obviously. I mean, even though she kind of was more Republican, but yeah, once the Tea Party ginned up, she was all on board with that. So you can make an argument that it works in certain districts. It may even work in certain states. Ted Cruz, for example, but it's still Texas. It's not purple Texas yet. It's going there, but it's not there yet. It's still Texas. The question has to go for these Tea Party conservatives. And I am part of the Tea Party movement, although I would probably be characterized as somebody that's not full Tea Party, because I do disagree with how and even some approaches to conservatism. Again, the one example I constantly bring up, I brought up again on national television, was affirmative action. You simply cannot, as a fiscal conservative, be against affirmative action, something that's going to get people to school and to work. You just shouldn't. You're for welfare to work. Why wouldn't you be for affirmative action to success and prosperity and higher tax revenue and more tax contributors? That's just me. But with that said, there's got to be an argument. There has to be an argument that says maybe, just maybe, the Tea Party approach is good to a point, but you got to tweak it just a little bit so that you win purple races, purple districts, purple states, maybe purple regions if you got somebody that's your guy or your lady in 2016. If you look at Virginia, there are a lot of lessons that come out of it, but it's not the typical lesson of the Democrats won Virginia and they're back. I would caution everybody to dig a little deeper. But of course, I want to hear your feedback. Maybe you don't think we should dig deeper, but either way, I want to hear what you think about it. Go to Twitter, LennyMcAllister. Of course, you can go to Facebook and put your comments there as well. I will be hitting you back up again mañana to have another wonderful dilly-dally with you here on Get Right with Lenny McAllister. In the meanwhile, have a fantastic day. I'll talk to you soon. TCNGB, take care and God bless. Peace.